getting out, and yet those were the two subjects that were preparing people for 18. Because the idea is that at 18 you register to be a voter, and then you can cast a meaningful ballot. So if you have no substantive anything, and remember, before you're 18, no one is giving you civic education. All the organizations are doing civic education in the community to adults who are already messed up because they don't have a foundation. Which is why our parents are more civically conscious than us. For us, the adults who are conscious are adults who have done the hard work of educating themselves about civics. But you go to your average schoolmate and attempt to have a governance conversation with them.
I don't like those things.
Those things are for the old.
They think it's a waste of time.
But now,
They tell you it's for the old.
true, but now going by the events of what happened,
Yes.
I am very optimistic
Excuse me.
that that particular demographic would be more now conscious than before. It is my thinking. Maybe not.
I have a different thought. And I've been struggling with Dan's question of the electorate and the knowledge and what they know. And for me, it has never come out as a knowledge issue. For me, it's always been about the economy. I will request this MP, or I'll demand the MP or the MCA to provide the tent to bury my loved one because I cannot afford that. And I feel like he's up there eating a lot of money and getting a lot of privileges while he's representing us.
Yes.
So to me, it looks like more of a socioeconomic issue, and it's more of a knowledge gap. Because we know these things. Uraia is all over educating people. We are in this barazas. We are getting even now information at our hands. Like we are on TikTok, we are on social media. At least we have an idea of what it means to vote for somebody. But just because I feel like this guy is also getting money and me I don't have, I'm even struggling to put up the table. So why can this person take the burden of burying these other people?
That is true.
And if he does that, then whatever I got or whatever small I have during the day is what my children will eat. And so I will vote for you because you bridge that gap of me getting more expenses than it is me not knowing what your role is and thinking that your role is burying people.
Yes. But also before we differ, there is an aspect as leaders of what we call consumable policy. I don't know that you've come across that. Consumable policy. Like there's this entire policy document where they were boring, complicated, and full of a lot of English. You need to want to understand it. Cap one, then in relation to, then they send you to another
section.
To another law. Yes, so you're here local government, they say we're going back to
As embedded
in the so you have, if you're to read the local government act, you need like 3 other law
Constitution.
open. You get so it's not the most enjoyable exercise. Are we together?
Yes.
But when we talk about consumable policy, it is to say that for us who have the luxury, and even in this room I know that not all of us are that keen around issues of policy. We might be about 20% in this room who can sit down and analyze a policy.
They're too complicated.
And yet, for the leader that you are,
You must.
like you don't have the luxury of saying it's complicated.
Not knowing.
Now, why can that responsibility refer to a citizen as well?
Yes, it can, but remember these are the people who are going to vote you. You get? So if there's no system, if there's no structural support to increase, don't worry, it's coming, but this is not Uganda.
Still not Kasarani. And the only difference, it is a hotel, but if not, we should.
You begin looking for extracurricular activities outside. a leader, yes, it's a duty of a citizen to build their consciousness. But a citizen's consciousness is built dependent on their threshold, context, and capacities. The only reason you and I can have this conversation is because you have had access to Future Elect, you have access to TV, you watch news, you listen to radio, you have gone for conferences. Like, your consciousness has been built by a lot of support which the people in your constituency don't have. Which is why when you become a constituency MP, you have to strike a balance between barring and doing legislative work. Because you know that, yes, legislative work is my duty, but if I'm to come back in the next parliament, I had better go and bury. Are we together? The only people who have managed to cross this threshold, and you people, you've taken me away from my conversation, but the only people who have been able to cross this threshold are people who have either a heightened awareness in their communities, or these are people who have additional social capital to win an election. Are we together? I'll give you an example. There is a community, I don't know, is it a division or a district? But anyway, it's called Chira Mani. And that man keeps winning somehow. No, it's not somehow. His constituency is right outside the Kampala outskirt context. Now, because it's right outside the Kampala outskirt, the traditional residential space in Kampala is now for the affluent, the rich and affluent, the likes of Kololo, Muyenga, which are within the city suburbs, are now for the very rich. So the middle class has to build around Kampala. Now, one of the places that quickly organized itself into a residential area was Chira. So if any of you had a certain amount of money, you would most likely be living in his division. You get it? So by default, the consciousness of people in his area is higher. But also, these are not people who would ultimately ask for $1. So he does not have to give money. The people he will probably give money to are the traditional owners of that land who sold. But even those are rich because they sold their land. But he probably pays homage to them because of the traditional role they play in that community. His realities are very different from the realities of someone who may be in Masaka or I don't know which other district. So there's a contextual conversation around that. And even you, when you do your politics, you need to understand your context. If your people are poor, you are going to bury.
Of course.
You're going to pay their children's fees. You're going to have to buy saucepans. You get it? So, but away. Yes, so away from that, we also talked about media advocacy, which I will not over labor on, because I think all of us have seen the power of media advocacy. We've also seen issues of coalition building. Coalition building is a form of advocacy. Come together, let's push. Okay? The thing with coalition building is that it takes a very high level of trust.
But you men, you're too weak.
No. Hey,
I'm too fit for
the
you.
feminist in me needs to come and demystify that. Individuals have choice. So they have choice to stay in the circle, they have choice to lean against the walls. You even have the floor is no longer working, I'm getting my chair. It's choice.
Yes, thank you.
Okay? Also, intersecting needs and realities of all of us in this. There are things that others might be able to do and others are not able to do. So for example, if I say touch your knees, some of us would comfortably touch our knees, others may not. You know, if I say we are going to do yoga, some of us may collapse. So you get.
Yeah.
So contexts are very different. So usually when I do my session,
And also age.
hey,
Because those who are living the world.
Yeah.
no, but I know that's I don't know I support Let's come back to the session. But anyway, at the end of the day, let's respect people. Unless someone has told you that I am leading because I am tired, it is not for us to decide that they are leading because they are exhausted. People may have situations they are dealing with that we are unaware.
Personal.
To the person.
Okay, so we talked about coalition building, but there's also an element of direct action, which is where we started from. The difference between advocacy and activism. So there's also aspects of direct action where you say, we are now going to throw eggs at you. You know, we are going to throw pigs into parliament. We're going to do this. We're going to, so direct action to show your dissatisfaction can also be an arm, but again, it's usually an arm where you're now acting outside the conventional form and structure of advocacy.
True.
Are we together?
There.
Yes, please.
Is it ideal to use caskets
Huh?
for advocacy?
Caskets.
That's the Kenyan thing.
Even
I'm
Uganda
asking
did
if
it
it's ideal.
first. Uganda did it first. Did it caskets.
Conventional and
So here's the thing.
Unconventional.
It's not a convention. If it works,
If it works,
yes.
You
if
know,
it works.
If it works,
It works
you
for us.
know.
you see that which country used to
Orogo,
feel safe?
Orogo.
Ah.
If you decide to be an entrepreneur,
Paris.
can you start a coffee business?
sure.
Yes. So if you can, some people cannot.
Yeah, the
Of
way
all the
there.
businesses they can do, being a coffee maker is not one of them.
That I'm very out.
Yes. So if coming with coffins work, when should I not carry it?
Okay, so maybe I should ask, is it ideal for women to strip?
If it works.
I mean, why would you say if it works?
For men like you guys, it works for you.
According to
You've asked a question for all of us,
No,
right?
for you, for you have asked about coffee.
Yeah.
Yes. Is it ideal for women to strip?
I think depending on the situation and the context.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So the same with coffins, you know? Because at times, what we should also know is that there are things, we are African here,
Yeah.
and we know that despite religion, despite globalization, despite all of this, there is African, there's African culture, there's African, there's an Africanness in us around certain things, irrespective of whether you're atheist or you're Christian or you're Muslim. There are things that as Africans we hold sacred.
Yes.
One of the things we hold sacred is death. The second thing we hold sacred is nudity.
Yes.
Nudity is very sacred for us. Sex is very sacred, you know, irrespective of where you're standing.
Yeah.
So by the time you say that I am going to get the sacred and I'm going to use it as a tool of advocacy, it means that your options are finished. Yes, true.
Like what Wangari Maathai did,
Yeah.
we would
Yeah.
not have had the free spaces if she did. She decided the normal advocacy was not, nobody was listening. In fact, she was being arrested all the time. So she decided, may be stripping naked all the time you come to arrest me.
Yes. And you see that
Even that
thing
time
is,
they called some old women to strip.
Yeah, to strip.
They said we'll come, we'll remove, we'll show our breasts. And that's like the hugest curse in Africa.
yes.
Well, no, but yes.
No, even in
Yeah,
because
yeah.
I remember there's a community in northern Uganda, and that then CDF, I think was Ministry of Internal Affairs, Arunda, went because they wanted to take land from the locals. And the people said, if we don't do anything, they're going to take our land. So they collected the oldest women in the community.
To see that.
And they were at different points of the roads that were coming into that district. And as soon as these people's convoy reached, it included government officials, it included the investors. They reached and the women just stripped, and they did not stop at the strip. They fell on the ground and started rolling with their legs out.
That is the biggest curse.
You get, like, okay, yeah, but I'm going to show you even what you shouldn't see. And you see, but when they finished, when they were rolling, they kept saying, as long as you have seen us, you are dead. So, I want to tell you people, less than a year later, the minister died.
But
And I'm
very
very...
because of that.
No, he died under, all of them died under very interesting circumstances. They probably were very genuine deaths, but here is the thing, they saw naked old women. I, as an African woman,
You will say it worked.
my conclusion is that was a curse. Like if something like that happened, you had better go for cleansing.
Also, it's a way of
But
collecting
why do you
allies.
curse your sons?
That's what I was saying, Daniel.
Because they are oppressing.
If
Yes.
let's say my mother or our mothers decide that they are going to protest against something,
Yes.
and you see how the Gen Z's mother was saying our children are being killed and will strip naked the next time they go and protest. It is called for allyship, because even if you are not interested in what these women were representing, the thought of that, oh, it may be my mother or what, will make you start thinking about that issue, even if it was the last thing you wanted to think about.
And to answer the question of why would they strip, like it is the at that point they could not negotiate with anyone.
Yes.
They didn't have money to bribe anyone. They didn't even have money to buy their own land. Like it was the only thing they had was their bodies and their dignity. And they sold it, they paid the highest price to save their land. You get it? So even coffins, by the time someone, like we don't be praying with coffins as Africans. No, we really fear death. We fear ghosts. We fear. By the time someone over what, like they override their fear and go and get a coffin and walk around. Please, you had better be afraid, because I am no longer afraid of the things that I'm afraid of naturally.
Actually, that is what the conflicts were trying to say.
I disapprove it though, but it's right.
I understand where you come
Like-
from, but using the coffin was like rearranging. It was symbolic.
It was very
It was symbolic, but even if you're killing us,
You
whatever,
can put us there.
just finish us and here.
Just finish us and put us here.
Like, you know, coffins are really scared. Like the time when we were in campaigns, we had to go, was it some far place? Was it Ginger? But not in Ginger, some far. But we are supposed to travel in the night, so we decided to travel in beats. We don't travel as a group. So your own van could move, but these guys are stopping every vehicle, checking what we should do. We went and bought a coffin of a little child. We put it on top of a car, actually my own very car. We had to move. Pardon?
That is how much
Yeah, they fear the death. Yeah, these guys, when they saw a coffin, because we are all put out the red thing on stuff, so like when they saw it, where are you going? We are going to bury, where are they? Okay, but they didn't even bother opening this thing. We passed all roads broke, you know. So they're going to bury. So we had to pray, oh God, save us from this, because it is bad. But this is the only option we had. And it worked for us.
Pay the ultimate price, okay? But coming to advocacy, okay? Advocacy has a cycle, and if you looked online, but I'm also happy to share these resources. If you look online, there's an entire structure around advocacy. One of the reasons any advocacy process would fail is due to the absence of planning. Okay? So even, and that is why when we look at, so I also wear an activist hat. But within the activist hat, one of the things that the non-frontline activists always talk about is the fact that there has to be someone who brings order into the activist space, because activists are very passionate, but they are the worst organizers, especially the frontliners, because they are their passion drives them. And so even within the space of activism, there are different roles people play. There are people who should be able to do the strategic work and say, okay, where would you appear from? If you appear from one road, that is just one stack of tear gas is enough for you. You know? So can we appear from different roads? When people get arrested, are there lawyers at every police station to make sure you get? So there are people who don't make it to the front line, but stay behind to make sure that everything is running smoothly.
Yeah.
So even within the advocacy, process, it's important to know that order is needed. But even the roles in advocacy are needed, okay? And the roles we play are very different. I think the last time I spoke to you, I mentioned that at times we have people who are very passionate but are not the best communicators. Okay? So in advocacy, if you put a radical to go and communicate, you're not going to achieve any of it. If you're going to negotiate and the person is saying, if you don't, you will not reach home. Like you're not going to get anything out of that. Okay? So even within the advocacy process, there must be order, but you must also be aware of the role that you play in the advocacy process, yes?
That's diplomacy now.
Which promise? That's diplomacy.
Diplomacy.
Yes, it's
Within
diplomacy.
advocacy.
Yes, it is diplomacy, but you see, not everyone can, like has the gift of communication. You know, there are some of us who can talk a baby to sleep. There's some of us whose appearance in our room, the baby wakes up. Just your presence. There's some of us who rattle spaces. So if you know that you're a rattler, just stay away. You know, you might have good intentions in the advocacy process, but stay away. There are some of us who are better writers than in presence. Like go and write articles. We need articles in the newspaper every day. Go and write articles. Go and write Twitter posts and give us to post. You know, like track, do something, but yeah.
Like when you say about the radical part of it, people who are talkative. The president used, there is a former Prime Minister, Rakana Rwanda, and Jeje Odom. They are not so vocal.
Yes,
but these guys, when you bring them on table, they can negotiate and bring the deal home. So people used to ask,
sell you your hair.
yeah. So
yes, man.
people used to ask themselves, why are these guys? But when you put them into doors, they can do the negotiations and bring all what
there are people.
Another example that I can give in political, let me tell you, the most toxic spaces in Kenya is the political party spaces. And women are not respected at all, no matter what you say. So what they do, especially for the young women who they think we don't have voices, is they'll silence you because you had consented sex with them. So if you dare speak, they'll say, why is he talking to us? And she came here through bedroom matters. So the only way that you can go through is, for me, how I speak and they listen. I don't speak all the time. Like I will sit, I'm meeting Kangwanda, I will not speak, but the day I speak, everybody will keep quiet and they listen to me. Because at least there's a way that you present yourself and you know what you're saying, but you've created that aspect that you'll have to listen to me. And even if I'm quiet, it doesn't mean that I'm stupid, but you'll have to listen to me. So you also have to know yourself and the environment that you're dealing with to pass the points.
That is true. So away from our roles, there is process, you know, that could guide order, okay? And the first part is usually with issue identification. What is the issue you want to advocate around? And at times we mix issues, you know? We say, oh, there's this, and the problems in the world will never get finished. The question is, which one do you want to handle? I keep saying, every time I do these trainings, I say, you're not Jesus. We are not Jesus. Like, we did not come to die to save the world. Like, you can't. You're a human being.
Hallelujah.
Amen. You're a human being. So, yes?
That's what I also say.
Yes. So pick what you need to work on and work with it. But also do research around the issue and understand it. And an example I usually give when I say do research is, there was a point in time when we were doing advocacy around government's investment in employment in Uganda. And we kept telling government, unemployment is at 83% in Uganda. And government said, no, it's at 11%.
Yeah.
They said it's at 11%. And for like a whole year, we were on 83, and their standard response would always be, it's 11. So one time we got someone and we said, but how is it possible that government is so convinced about their 11%? And then we learned, so the figure we were using, we were quoting a figure from the African Development Bank's study on unemployment. Government, our government, and I think your government, measures unemployment against the ILO unemployment standards. So if they come and they ask you, in the last 1 week, have you gotten any money? And you say yes, even if it was transport refund, you don't qualify as unemployed. If they come and ask you, did you look for a job in the last, is it 1 week or 2 weeks? And you say, yes, I looked for a job. You don't qualify, like, or you don't know what you're answering, but that is how government would reach these things, or? Yes. And of course, every young person is looking for a job. Like, you wake up to look for a job. So government's figures were at 11% using ILO standards. And that is why they were very convinced with their 11%, and we were so adamant with our 87%. It was only after we understood government's research parameters and how they reach their numbers when we started to change the approach of our advocacy. Of, okay, if someone has looked for a job and they didn't get it, how do we deal with those? Is transport refund sustainable? How do we handle that? You get. So at times it's important that you're arguing around the issue you're advocating for, because government uses its statistics all the time, and its statistics can be special. After you have done your research, it's important that you have very clear goals, like what does success look like for us? Because for every problem, there are different phases of success, you know? So we are doing this advocacy, but what does success look like for us? And then it's also important that you begin to look at who are you targeting with advocacy. Now, at times, some of us want to change a policy, and in trying to change a policy, you spend 80% of your time with the community. Does the community have policy-making power?
No.
No. Of course, you'll say, oh, but they support us. Yes, they support you, but a community can never and has never passed. No.
But can't you pick ideas from them?
Yes, you can. Which is why, but after that, they are not your primary. They are not your primary. If you want to pass an ordinance in the sub-county or a bylaw, there are people who pass bylaws and ordinances. It is not the Marwa drinkers. So at times you just convert and sitting here,
But Marwa drinkers have good ideas.
Very good, but they don't have Remember where we came from with advocacy? You want to change policy and practice. Does the Marwa drinker have the power to change policy? No.
And that has been the biggest problem.
And that has been the biggest issue with our advocacy.
Talking to the wrong people.
Always talking to the wrong people. You go
Getting in the wrong office.
always wrong office. You know?
Target the police.
Yeah, they'll never decide.
Yes, and then for police officers are implementers of the law.
Yeah, they don't,
You know?
they're just
Like when they're just implementing. Okay, so at the end of the day, who are your targets? But also when it comes to your targets, it is very important. The other thing we usually miss out when we're doing advocacy is clustering your targets. Because under your targets, you usually have primary targets. So primary targets are the people who you must spend 80% of your time with. The people who have the power to change the situation. And then you have secondary targets. Like these are usually people who are supportive of the cause that you are pursuing. Then there's the issue of messaging. Okay? Every time you're doing advocacy, one message has never ever worked. That is why it's important to map your targets. If part of your targets are MPs, usually an MP's biggest problem at any point in time is losing the next election. Like, please, that should be your opening line. If you don't do this, you're going to lose the next election. And then you put whatever you are. They'll be very keen to see what they need to do to win the next election. You know? If you're going to speak to a religious leader, even if you're not a very religious person, please Google a verse.
Yeah.
God so loved the world. God so loved the world. God so loved the world that he gave his only begotten Son,
If you want to convince,
that whoever believes in him.
Yes, be very strategic. Hey, people, I only have 5 minutes. Come back. Okay, so be very strategic with your stakeholders. If you're working, if you're going to the community, you cannot be going to the community and saying, article of the constitution, or something. They say, "Oh, what? They'll leave you there with your problem. You get. So at the end of the day, your messaging is very key, and it should be very targeted to your stakeholders. Are we together? Then after you have your messages, then you come to your communication channels. Okay? Yes, TikTok is beautiful. But how many stakeholders are you sure on TikTok?
Those are for local.
There are some stakeholders who are active on TikTok. Kamala Harris, as soon as she declared presidency, appeared on TikTok. She knows where her voters are. Okay? And so her voters can go to TikTok. Now, me and my president. So, me and my lovely Museveni, when I get him, no.
You go to UBC.
But he reads the newspapers.
And
that one we are very sure he reads the newspapers because every time he's doing a presidential address, he's attacking us based on headlines. So you're sure he reads the newspapers, okay? So what are the different communication channels you're going to use? But it's also important that we talk about the resources we are going to use.
Yes.
And resources are not money. As soon as you start with money, you're going to fail. Because let us agree, we don't have the money. So we need to start with what are the available resources I have at my disposal. I have my phone. I have a sister who is a graphics designer. I have another sister who maybe knows how to play around with language. I know someone who can get my thoughts and make them into a policy brief. I know, you get, what are the resources that you have, even in this room?
Yes.
What are the resources you have in this room and can you use them? Because they significantly cut down on the money that you need to spend. And then, of course, there's the issue of monitoring. And as we close, I have 1 minute. I'm going to go to a little bit more around the stakeholders. And for this one, I just beg you to pay attention because we have just a minute to close. When you're mapping your stakeholders and you're mapping the language and whatever you're going to use with them, I'll need about 2 minutes to finish. Okay, thank you. It's very important. One of the things we rarely discuss is the background of our stakeholders. What is the background of this stakeholder? Okay? Are they atheists? Are they religious? Are they traditional? Do they believe in marriage? Do they have children? Like, what is their politics beyond the political party? Because it helps you a lot. Our Prime Minister,
the current?
Yes, the current Prime Minister. When she was going for swearing in, do you know who she took for swearing in? Her priest. Yes, the priest of her local church. So he sat with her, and then the two cars behind her had nuns. Yes. Okay. She didn't take her children. She went with her religious leaders. Okay? Now, for someone like that, you would need to be very strategic about how you're approaching her. You get it? Because you know she may not, when you go and her rosary is not necessarily out, but just the mere fact that she went to read the priest, it speaks volumes. Okay? So what's the background of the different people in your target audience? I will in confidence, okay, I'll give a very brief example about our speaker. At a certain point, we went to lobby for something, and I was with another person, but we went as a women's rights, a women's activist. And, oops, sorry. Oh, where is my alarm? Sorry. Okay. So, we went to lobby to her, and as soon as we arrived, she said, in the last election, you didn't support me. And those are the opening remarks. Hey, so I just told my colleague, let us be very nice, we're not getting anything out of this. Yeah. We need to go back and regroup, okay? Now, later when we talked to some people, they told us, no, she has consistent in her speeches talked about the fact that people in civil society did not support her and they undermined her. That they preferred her predecessor to her. If we had just done our homework, we probably had been better prepared.
Yes.
You get it? So what but also what are their core concerns? You know? Yes, this person is an MP, but what is their biggest issue? Is it to make money? Is it fame? Like, what is their issue?
You have to know that.
You need to know what their issue is. Is it to rock the boat? Because the people who don't rock the boat, they say, I cannot upset the status quo. If you're asking me to upset the status quo, I'm not going to upset the status quo. Full stop. So what is their position on the matter that you are proposing? But also, have they made statements on that matter? Anywhere.
You can quote them.
And can you quote them on those statements? Because if someone has said, no, that's not happening, like you really need to get other allies. So it's also very important that if you have target, like it's really a mini stalking of sorts. What have they said about that particular issue?
Can you buy allies?
Not really. Those would not, you'd be lobbying. Not be allies, yeah. But also, it's important to know whose opinions do they care about the most. And also, it's important for us to know that are they willing and able to act on issues they care about. For example, who are really happy to go home and play with their children, and it's not a problem. That is them. I just want to go home. I don't have time for any other things. So are they willing to act? And as I close, I'd just like to say that there's a spectrum, what we call the spectrum of stakeholders, okay, that we usually refer to when we are discussing stakeholder engagement. And the spectrum provides for 5 categories of stakeholders. Okay? And on one side of the stakeholders, so imagine a campus, okay? Imagine a campus, a semi-urban, okay? So on this side of the campus, you have active allies, okay? Active allies are people who believe in your cause and are willing to do something with you about your cause without you trying too hard. Then you have passive allies. Passive allies, hello?
Again, told you.
Guys, I didn't finish. So you have active allies and then you have passive allies. Now under passive allies, these are people who say, I support you, but their support stops in words. I support, every time you say, we must, yes, we must.
We are with you.
But they will never lift a finger to the mass. You know? And then in the middle of this spectrum, you have the neutral people. They are not for, they're not against, they're not trying. And then as soon as you go to the other side, you have your passive opposition. People who say, I don't support you, but they're not going to do much about their lack of support. And then you have active opposition. People who actually take action against the things that you're doing. Okay? So when you're drawing your spectrum of allies, when you're drawing your spectrum of stakeholders, it's important that you're clustering them. Because if someone has the capacity to harm you, because there are people who have the capacity to harm you in the work that we do, it's important that there are also strategies around personal safety that you are getting into, because the revolution needs you alive. The revolution does not need you dead. So when advocacy or activism becomes a threat to life, you must choose life. Okay? You must choose life. At all times you must choose life. But it's also important that you have a spectrum, and when you're stabbed, you're not shocked about who stabbed you. Are we together?
Yes.
Are we together? And I'm very grateful for the time that I have spent.
To give a good example, like I would relate it to yesterday's thing about Ambassador who they brought here. They played him a good strategy, I think. Yeah.
Thank you very much, Isabella. Always a pleasure.
Thank you.
And a great part of this conversation around design thinking and thinking about who are the people you're going to be speaking to, bringing along, and what your strategies are.
Yeah.
I'm going to ask that, I'm sure you probably have questions you probably want to ask Isabella. I'm going to ask that you try and do that during the lunch period.
I am around till tomorrow.
Because she's
she's around. She's going to be here the whole day with us. I just have a couple of announcements, please. Number one, can you kindly take all of your things with you, because we're going to reset the room, right? And so we don't want to stumble over your things and then you lose your things and whatever, okay? If you could please do that. That's number one. Number two, IT is here and Sophia is here. If you have any digital presentations, etc., do not leave for lunch. Do that first, so that they know exactly what you need to do. What was number three? Don't forget your mail card. And thank you, Cynthia. Please say it loud, please.
Oh,
For stand up also. Yeah. Take up space. Take up space.
Thank you very much.
Don't cry.
Anyway, as Godmother, it is a humble request to show Natasha has done a good job.
Yes.
That we actually come on time. Like, because if the board shows up here and all of us are being looked for, we will look bad. We'll make her look bad.
Just that time. What time?
So,
For the mother said so.
10 to 2. So that means we're not calling
10
you.
minutes to 50 minutes.
Yes. So at 1:50.
Yes.
1:50 we need to be here.
Had you
Again, this is the only time we need to show the board that we've actually done a good job. And in accent. She's advocating.
Hey, there's something.
yes, Holy Mother.
There's another. So in short, so we don't use anything sensitive, or we are part of Future Electrical. Yes.
Okay, thank you.
We are very structured and very controlled, and the data is kept in safe, secure Future Elect. So there's no going anywhere on anything that's vaguely. Then you would actually end up checking everything.
All right, thank you.
Last thing, we're going to start grabbing you guys for like sound bites and interviews just outside here, just in the reception. So if I could just grab 3 of you first, then I've got a list, and then I'm going to get through everyone over the next day. Okay, but lunchtimes are the time. So we won't be long with you, 10 minutes, and then you come grab your food. Is that okay? Because the schedule is so full.
Please try and ensure you do the videos first. They're very important. You're about to get into the alumni community at some point. And we need these videos so that we can talk about it.
So you go outside at the front door and
Don't forget to tell our things.
okay, first 3 I've got, and then I'm coming back. I'm grabbing you guys for lunch.
What have I done?
Do you know her personally? No. You knew her from here, from Future Elect. You didn't know her before.
Kept jumping high, how are you?
Like, here's your neighbor. Lovely lady.
Yes, please.
From Congo. Humble.
When they said go to the Bible, Google, I'm like, no, not Google. We like to us in the church.
Yes.
She needs you.
But I am available.
Yeah.
Always. Why are you making this request instead of her? She just said you.
Because she's shy. And you know, as an opposition person, she cannot openly tell you. But But I'm telling you, you need somebody.
Those are my things.
You know how she's not so much exposed to everything. So she can tell you some information that nobody else has. And also about the news that you can get to avoid those mistakes.
I think we are sometimes.
You need somebody to see far who those people I don't know what the rich will take. Whether he's supporting us, I don't know. The young ones at some point, I think the day I'm going to be in Uganda, she'll be the first person to ask us.
I will have it happen.
I'll get your phone.
Okay, thank you.
Let me see this What is this? There's no competition.
What do I do?
You had to ignore the right time. You need it. I don't think you have made
Where they send their
I think you know that you.
I am Uganda.
So can you send any participation and reservations and we'll watch the place.
All right, let me go. I need to go and check it now.
First.
Hi, President.
Four weeks. We have to take that time. Make a video surely.
You and your photogenic vibes. You and your photogenic.
Who ni Mariam? Hello. Hi. Who is live?
Are they typing?
No, only a few people are online.
CSO has spied on us and we have a report from our intelligence, so we want to shut them down from operating. Oh, thank you. You also did an excellent job. Yeah, I know. Oh, you're not anymore? Yeah. Because you have an amazing team. Wetusitamira abantu ali ng'obayingiza ate oba mma obayingiza mukamako kubabbala banno oba mma obawa ate obalagako
Kambalagaki.
bonna ne batandika osumagirebaluma
Wabula osaze ekigambo.
obadde otunulidde baliwo.
Do you have a presentation? Yes. Why do I not have it?
But we give it out.
To who?
Where's
Do you remember I said...
Bruno?
Do not go on Uno.
Bruno, they gave it out before.
Do you email it to me? Where's the presentation?
Sugar, we give it out.
Who did you send it to? Remember, we're using a different laptop now, so if you have not emailed it to me, there is no presentation.
Bruno, you
So
go.
please send Safia's inside. That's fine. That's why I tease
Coke with ice and lemon. Banane anyumiza gwe yakoowa
obaddanza akasikane bwenti
ng'odda bweragira musikidde misiri mwanda bw'oli aliwaano.
What do you have? Same
gwempadde eryakonde
abo babadde awo mwamukaango kwotukadde ng'olowooza bagenza okwebaka ng'eminogo ebaluma
nga mubayimidde
balingiza okukola mbadde ngenda situka
kula mmere
nina n'appetite.
nange naate nina okulya olunuma
I wanted to do like this. Maybe introduction, just because they got phone me off guard.
Introduction how?
We never to I'll be like
back to table.
Intellectual.
Back to table.
Yeah, lovely.
We're full of good.
Like I wanted to do that, but they phone me off guard. I was not ready.
Because one part get you.
The mother of the house.
Saila is good aunt. You know these good aunties, eh? You always call to, yeah?
I don't know if you have
You
them
know,
in Kenya.
auntie, I don't have
Your
this.
aunties are sisters to your mother's wife. Like
Yeah.
they'll be there, even though they're busy in a family meeting, it's like, then you come. That, I don't know why, like, that guy is always like that. You are a guy, like, trust me, whenever things don't go right in a fellowship, you put someone else,
Given
you don't
Cynthia
know.
Holy Man,
So we'll do what?
I'm a bad girl. Eh?
Yeah, you're a very bad guy.
Yeah? You don't know. If you want to always act holy, you have to be holy mother, you know?
Yeah?
She acts holy all the
You know,
time,
we
so
politics and public
I have to call her holy mother,
This one
pray
is
for
an
us
internet.
sinners.
But I'm thinking about the
Now and the hour of our death, you know?
This one is a little better. This guy, he will see that folks are not working. Then he says, no, we have an alternative. Also spoons serve the same thing. So, it's
Good uncle.
I'm proud of this guy. And that we have been eating. Anyway, that's one thing I've learned about University. They give us food until we get tired.
Oh, now you're tired, you just want food.
Let me tell you, when we were at Simani
Royal Tulip, they could overcount the food. Eh?
they were punishing us indirectly.
Why?
See,
They serve you, they don't let you, you know?
they have good facilities, but they don't have good customer care. The message of things are around.
Yeah. Oide erinnya lyempadde mukyala we.
Mwewalana.
Oh, you have her number?
No, we talk on
LinkedIn.
No? Says, I'm not so popular on WhatsApp, I don't use it.
Ah, yeah.
Executive Director wa Bulwai.
Yeah.
Obutunzi muna Uganda.
Muna Uganda?
Akuba government.
Na what are you?
Executive Director.
How come to have over na Uganda?
Obeerawo babaawo bajja.
Senga bajja olwo bonna be bajja obeera eno basula eno.
because now at Kibu, we have reserved the entire place near Ruto.
How many rooms do they have?
What have you done?
Nothing. The sickness I'm suffering from is far out from yours.
Yeah? Oh,
So between Catherine,
Wamusanga, wategeera otya? The executive director.
yeah, we no business. Nategeera lwakuba ntegeera. Bwe kimanye
Some subject. Miss Mira should not take our subject during lunchtime.
because of Nana.
What website should?
Isabella agambye abadde mulwadde.
True. Waliwo nali eri ekisaasi nga ngula nkoko ne mula mu mmotoka baagikuba encungwa awo akafuba kayitani hazare nali ku hazare yangula nkoko ragula kasha yali mmotoka is it a rub for new model with some other woman ne motoka hazare ne lajola
Nowokana. Guys, we are graduating next semester. Hey, next semester, next seminar.
We shall miss the sneaking into the rooms.
I never done it.
For sneaking, of course. In the Gambia. People sneaking. Why do I make tell people secrets?
There's one person I'm going to miss. Once this fellowship is done, I think is mine.
Why? You're not going to miss me.
I don't know.
But we can always talk.
Yeah, talking is one thing, but
Mariam
meeting
is in Nairobi, is going to relocate permanently.
They're relocating
Not really, but
most of
half,
the time.
half, you know, like sharing.
Yeah,
Mariam can tell you the story what happened
What happened? You were supposed to tell me that in a seminar. You know, Jordan refused to tell me.
I'm not part of this story.
So you didn't tell them you want me to do that, Ruga. So I become the repairs, and
We came by flight.
with our own for future elect. But according to the news we got, the funders had given out money for our flights. Because he literally was trying to force us to post videos on plane in the group
Yeah.
to show that we're on the plane coming.
Yeah.
Not me, not just all people that were coming from different.
So tonight.
So we came on. That actually came was not even brought up. Yeah, it's on him. So when he came, I already sent him a message. When he came, like, oh no, it's okay, let's give her on. Then the rest were trying to record. Everyone was hungry, it's getting late, you know. People came early, you know. With the protest thing, eh? So we expected there's breakfast, lunch, you know. So the breakfast came in. they did after what he did after too much pressure from people. After too much pressure from people, he talked to these guys, organized some place. They gave them a cup of tea and one sudi or one chindas or something like that, you know. By all like, what people could not go back from, you know. So, like now I can be like, let me go back. That wasn't the case. So the donors were like, you know, they started saying things that we are not expecting. You could see that their facial expression, they were not happy. So each evening, sincerely, Kenya was not safe that day.
But it wasn't. It was not safe. It was very volatile. Things could have gone.
What this guy did, they told him that everyone gets safe wherever they're supposed to go. If it is not possible, try to talk these people as early as possible to remove like them
In the hotel.
until they feel they are all now safe to move. I think to that it's 2 days or a week. They are ready to look for whatever funds to accommodate that. So I was like, oh yes, we are going to work on it. I'm sure I started to work on it. So we finished almost at around 7.
That's very good.
Yeah, so 7.
Things like heated.
Yeah, so 7. They have already said they are going to announce a state of emergency. You get? 7. You want me, a non-citizen, to go wherever I don't know, you know? And what pissed off, what pissed off was like, we had the reimbursement of transport. We came by plane on our own, we transported ourselves from the airport to the venue on our own. And then you're giving transport reimbursement to others, you're not giving us. You get? So like, why? So we made him force him to give it to us. You get? And after complaining to those big ones that we don't have anything, you know, because we say it is unfair. Then it came when he saw that the funders have almost left, he told us there is no accommodation for us. We should go. He told us there is accommodation for one night. And literally we moved out. But we felt at least you would have done that to your own citizens, but not a visitor from a foreign country. Because I don't know
You should
Kenya.
become a citizen. Why did you come from Uganda?
I don't know Kenya. I don't know where. You're telling me to go out at that night. It is safe. Getting Ubers, we are ordering Ubers, they are not online. You get? We are hungry. We ate cheap, like literally no food. Don't sick, don't run.
In this hotel, I got scared.
Yeah, but things were really
Actually, one woman.
So what did you do?
We went, we left. We didn't want him to make him uncomfortable, but with our hearts, we are not happy with him. Surely we were not. It was wrong. And surprising, when he came here, I was like, oh, we did everything, you know. Hypocrisy, you know.
So you're tending to be a counselor. What down your heart to me?
Tell me.
Tell me more about it. Do you think it makes you uncomfortable speaking about it? When you're in the healing process, mention it 5 times. I hate you, I hate you, I hate you.
Please heal, daughter, please. You need to heal.
That is why I told him it's Kalidari.
Oh, you stumbled.
So you've left us on the table?
When I went into program in Kampala, Mariam was one of our advisory council.
Was one of our
advisory council from Nairobi. She's Ugandan, but she's an established business person with a strategic leadership. We differ, she's a no, so we differ with politics, ideology, but we have a lot of things that unite us. So, welcome, Mariam. Just so, yeah. Bastamira program amaze mwebazaake What does sebo mean? Because I'm hearing man. Like you said, Jameni. No, I don't know what does Jameni mean. You guys.
But Saba is respectful.
Sebo. But then Saba said, Sir, I'm respectful.
Saba yakala wampita.
And you know, only him wants to come to you. You will when I'm launching my program. When I'm launching my program next day, February, I'm graduating.
Which program?
You know, again, you don't think I'm Uganda.
Kutoka nange nali njitandise nga wanted.
Gwetandike, yo nange tandike yange tuleke.
Bafunidde bafanda.
Sinaba kufuna bali. Zino mbichano.
Bandi bagenda letanga facilitator waffe.
Mwenna abali wano bino bakusa ku bus. You're supposed to come using a bus.
Which bus?
Machpoa. Balita mu Machpoa. Accommodation and transport. Yes.
Kati nteka akakiiko akarwanya.
Political Advisory Council. It's an advisory council.
Yensasuza.
Wali kusasula.
Batasha babasasula.
Eva title taxes are programs.
All the people she works with are paid.
They are not paid. Board members are not paid. Board members are just facilitated to come. Yes, they are facilitated and they guide on implementation and policy. They hope to run.
Kati Masaka tansasula. Masaka tansasula. Masaka.
Look at a board member. Masaka, and Natasha, they are workers. This guy who works with the president, vice president, Jimmy something, this guy GK, people like Caroline, those are just board members. But you know, Sasha is in Caroline's group. Yeah. Oh, you know? Yeah, I know. She's in the group. He's preparing for the board.
Oh, you're preparing for the board. You want to leave a remes. You want to leave a remes.
You want
When you need that, I'll tell you.
so sweet.
No. We were ready.
Hey, box pop.
Nze njagala kuba bodi bw'osasula. Njagala kuba bodi.
Sasura kwa tulina sente.
Tujja zifuna.
We have our advisory council from Kenya, Bundi Derrick. I met Bundi Derrick when I was from South Africa program. We were together.
You hear the line, right?
Yes, fellows need to get scared, you know.
You know, Kuragatai to COP28. Yeah. I met Brampang. We graduated together.
is a young guy who has not a different policies in Nairobi.
What?
He was a frontline guy who led policies on his and during his regime, that's when the hands were deployed. I want to say he was part of the Gen Z. He drafted the policy and frameworks that were presented to the president. So guys, you're the right hands.
Several of like, oh my God, you know?
And he starts also giving lines in Natasha style. I'm proud of you.
Katizo inolanga liriza twasanga ku Emirates nga tuva for now I was coming from a business engagement from Dubai. You are coming from COP28, and yet we're the environment activists, you know that. And then I'm diverse. Sibera kuchima. Kati ngo oje ompebye Kenya ompebye Dubai all again.
When I was traveling from Azerbaijan for our COP2019, I had a delay in my flight. I met this person, the next day speaker was speaking to, I met this person in a business lounge, and we started interacting. So one thing about the next speaker is he's so multi-talented, he's so multi. That's what I can say. I'm proud of this person. He's a climate activist.
Political.
He's a political activist.
Human.
He's a human activist. They said to wait, they will call us. And one of the special things about the next speaker is he was one of the youth led under the national platform who led different policies and governance in the national platform. And we share something special that
we graduated
program of public and governance in South Africa. Guys, I can't speak a lot of time. It speaks the fruits of pride. Fellows, join me and welcome Maria.
AKA.
Like guys, for me, trust me, if you need an introduction, just call me. I'll settle. Guys,
This
like,
guy is a cheater.
guys like me about that. Like when we go for lobbying.
What do you mean?
But when we go for those lobbying things, guys be like, what if they do a background check and they dump us because of what you are saying?
By the way, when I was doing that thing of mine, nali ngamba kwenda kuteeka mu banwe nga bw'olaba nti someone is in charge of that, you know, going to looking for funds and whatever. Kati byonna bikola oba gwe tontaddeyo nze ngenda kukuteekayo.
Like I forgot to know, just actually to be run on that. But of course you are my priority. Yeah, because you're in Uganda. Our deported minister.
How do people become friends? You're very different. How did you become friends? You're very different.
But then we've been meeting on different things, like for climate, technology, and what, but we would never become friends.
Okay, what he's saying, when we had just joined this program, to be honest, Mariam, you thought this was a political platform, and Mariam hated any person from any other party. Yes, and that's how maybe we didn't bond. But through these trainings,
and coming together, taking flights together.
Not that, because it's been a while. I think this is the third time we are taking a flight together. Mariam has been safety set for a while. So we that time. But there is a way the program has nurtured that. Put this political difference aside.
Regardless.
We talk on a round table. Then when we go back to the streets, we are different. I don't know you, don't know me.
Oh, when you go to the ground.
Yes.
And that's when there is something that we are all like in climate. That
is the only place.
Or my politics. Or if I have intelligence, I can
politics,
say.
You're saying Anita must
since he works there,
I have intelligence, I can say, please don't go there. That's it.
Yeah?
The longest in her life, sister.
The lesson she wore a very big Chipalian.
That's a show, like a show. But still. For me, if you need someone to give you a good introduction, call me.
Njakuleetako ku NUP mumpere speech.
Nompita. Next thing, baana kabakuba. Abaana bamwe basakata. Mbatya. Sagala kubenja.
Jjukira gejoyimirira bulungi bodily, no fear. Jjukira obeera mu kamera tobitya. Tolagira ddala you're very serious. N'owawadde empaana. Bino sifa bagala okwesimbawo. Ogamba kandeete ku bantu abamu that I've worked with to help me have a word with you, my people. N'olyoka oyiwa oluzungu abagamba naye omwana bampa! Omwina wo inoleetawo ebyonoonese. N'okyankalanya. Yeah, you get to mess up things, you know. Ate olwedde bandaba kunyonyi ate baba bamanyi gyenda ze.
Actually, nadi kireetawo fear nze abaana banja bwengenda mu different forums bagamba sooka oyogere.
I've won certificates. One is awards to American Center. We've got certificates that we've engaged in different stuff.
The program has nurtured me to be a lobbyist. I have a knack social capital. I can just bring him. He lies. You know it's good. He lies. He lies.
Nalaga agenda tuwanga $1 meka. Yansuubiza wadde naye nali ndabye.
Saizi yatukola naye bulungi mu ebyo ebintu bya analyze. Bw'oleetayo omuntu n'amanyi okuanalyzinga. Omuleetawo.
I mean that people would want to bring him, Hiram, Amisa, Shagera. Now in Bwagwa.
Never the niche banange. I love. Day one. Umani wajanga bomukatali.
Ngansibe uviri.
Oteseko ekyo n'oteekako bugunju essimu n'ogireetera mu kabe kabaka ali kapapula kapepapa.
Luno wano.
Yes, day one.
Ebyejjo.
Sejjo day one bwe twajja. Wali obadde ki? Olweggulo wajja nga weebisse obulungi essimu ng'eri muka essimu olina okujjaketi oteekako kisitaafu.
Eba empewo yali nnyingi.
Then n'ojjayo essimu ng'omanyi wenna weebasi wakolamu ne bwona.
Ewwa.
Oyo wali otudde munda kati.
Ate the first fellowship, do we have it here?
No, the first day of this seminar.
Ekolo nali mulwadde.
Then n'ojjamu essimu n'ogijja mu kapapapa.
Ate nali njagala kutoloka nabyo
mu kapapapa n'ennaase.
ate no nasika kano obumanyi bubeera buno bwakole kati nabiteera mu kagundi nga njagala bwe mba nsituka nakula nga ontunuulira ne ngambalago naye nga sirina gaseko obulwadde bunuma yambadde ekiteeteeyi kati nalina linango sikayakaze ojjamu essimu nze kati nze sobola okubeera mu life yonna ontwala mu life y'ekinaku I act like omunaku ye I can do it ontwala mu y'ekigagga I act like kibig mama bwekirinamu I can so neba nempadde omwana erinnya oba limuyisiza bubi oli mother
yamanyi ebizikiri
nti omuntu yaganye okulaga nti mutuukirivu nnyo
naye wamukubye ku kitwe
obadde tokategedde
badde sikategedde
waliwo abakategedde bamisabo basese
kategedde kati yefula mutuukirivu
anti yatusabira ebyonoono byaffe bikumu
ogulupu abeera balimu yakugambye okusimbobikumu
ejjo luli lwe nali nyambala ekyo ekitweteyi nga tutekinga pictures with ne senator nga taleeta akaleeso mbwambikkeko namugamba nobirekeraawo nanomerako mbuza bwakaleega biki namugamba don't mind it, I'm okay with it. Musaka nemugamba takifaako, ndi mulungi nakyo, naye yali andeetako olwa ssente. Kati nabeko bamisa ne bagamba lwaki takawadde mukama we yeesaze akateeteeyi atulaga agasambya agali. Okitegeera. Ne tulabira ddala nga kummanyira naye oli ku Mawura si bwe yaleeta obuleesumbu bankyusa engoye oba emirundi ng'etaano ng'ate yajja kitegeera ndowooza abasajja abaati alaba bagenda kukwana nze mu kifo kya ye seetaaga binnamagwe byabwe tekyamumalira ekyamumalira n'aleeta akaleesu kitegeera yantamya olwo olunaku era nali munyiivu nye n'otulira ebifaananyi byange ne Mawura nali munyiivu. Ekimanyi saafuna bifaananyi byange na Jacob. Hiram, the pictures you took.
Thank you. You have to beg for money. When you beg for money, you can't look poor. So they trust you.
Yeah.
So you even remove the accent. How are you? It's good to see. Are you feeling better? But that medicine is strong, eh?
Very strong.
That's why I'm worried, eh? So we'll talk. Because you can't be on medication that strong. You have to get it sorted.
Like the operation, but I'm scared. The solution is over. My dad has had for the last one almost healthy. So I'm scared.
Get it done. I did it, I didn't die. Are you on live? Oh, wow.
Speaking English.
You're going to steal the donors, eh? Tash, you're going to steal the donors.
All hard courage.
Charge your ring up, Benzi, but we're not put up.
Actually, Derek, this seminar has been fair, but it is stressing the teaching. My room key. It has got lost 5 times. As now I'm speaking, it's locked inside the room.
You don't know it.
It's locked inside. So when I was bringing that flash or whatever, I locked it.
You locked it from inside?
Yes, but they can get it, but still it has literally straight. They picked it. If I had left it, they said they had left it here again. And the guy was like, for you, we knew the owner and you knew his camera.
And your meal.
And you see, she has even makeup and lipstick. Man, she's serious. By all means, she has to secure the dollar.
Would any of you like to do an interview?
We can go. I'm so happy I can speak inside my team. I'm a journalist and I love women taking the space.
Yeah.
We have a special room in Uganda called the Women's Situation Room. It creates safe space for women journalists.
That's important in Uganda, definitely.
No, we...
Where are you doing it from? We're just outside here.
We can be going.
Cool.
you do, yeah?
It's good. It's good. Yeah. Yeah, 1 second. I will tell you as we go along.
Yeah.
You can chat to those. It's a chat. You're going to speak to me here on camera. And if you want to re-say anything or you don't feel it, you liked it, you can say again. We just want to edit out this. So firstly, can you just give me your name, the country you're from, and what you do?
My name is Jetta Madonite. I'm from Uganda. Am I doing that? What? Yeah, literally what I do.
Just what you do. What you do, or, I mean, you can say, you're in journalism and I'm Youth Prime Minister of the Sixth National.
Hi everyone, my name is Jetta Madonite. Currently, I'm the Sixth Prime Minister of Mauritius. West Africa recently. I'm also a journalist by profession. I do public and climate activist.
Yes. Tell me, when you saw this program, what was it that you wanted from the future electorate in West Africa? Was there something that you were like, there's something, I need some extra, I need this, I need this, the skill of this, I need the systems knowledge, what was it?
When I first saw the application of the journalists, there is a gap in the conditions and publicity that really we don't see in our community. At the end of the day, a politician has to work with a public sector. So in my community, all citizen organizations and government I want to see a special thing for the future that they give to public service. At the end of the day, when I go back home to my community, I can send a message for the public service. Or give a
the batteries are getting tired. They run too faster nowadays. No, I've got it going constantly, but they used to last longer. They've given up. They've got tired now. Okay, cool. I'm rolling. What is it about future elects during this 7 months? What's it up for you? Is there something different or fascinating? Something it went, ooh, I need to be doing that.
Trust me, when I joined future elects, I was a bit nervous. Sometimes I have things you think you know, but there are other people who can tell the story about me. So I have learned a lot of things of policy, governance, public service, understanding negotiation. The most interesting part was the culture which brought out the characters of our family. We are all associating together, rising inside us, mobilizing the voters, convincing people, but at the same time also how to run a political party. Then lastly, the other thing that outstood the story of us, the story of our culture. There is something that in our community they don't tell us. Our story is being told by the students, and they will take what they want to say, but they will not say what we want to do. So we learn a lot about our cultures, about our community, starting from grassroots until to what the Western cultures.
Speaking in language, you'll transcribe. Can you give us a bit of a sentence to young potential leaders out there who need depth and understanding to apply to programs like this? And you can say that one to camera, so that's good. Say call to action. Call to action.
In my language.
In your language.
Uganda.
Yeah.
This is interesting.
Oh, yeah, it's easier.
But what I would say to Uganda.
Okay, so English is a better widespread language used in Uganda.
Yeah, in Uganda. So if I use Uganda, very other people
Might isolate other people.
Yeah.
So let's do both then. Do both. Perfect. So we can have the call the answer nice to okay.
Maria, bannayuganda bannange waliwo omukisa ogw'enjawulo okuva mu future era oli
That's fine, that's fine.
It's fun.
Yeah, go for it. Go, just start on the second sentence.
bannayuganda bannange waliwo omukisa oli muvubuka muto oyagala kwetaba mu byobufuzi oba okolera mu gavumenti oyagala okuyiga ebintu ebikwatagana ku byobufuzi n'ebyo ebisinga omukisa gw'egomu jangu ojoyininge future elect. Future elect egatta amawanga okuva mu East Africa ewali Uganda, Kenya, Tanzania, Sudan, South Sudan, DRC ne Tanzania. So bw'obeera mu programu eno osobola okuyiga ebintu eby'enjawulo by'osobola okuvumbula mu bulamu bwo. Jangu onyumirwe, jangu weegatte, jangu oyige ebyobufuzi, jangu oyige obanga oli public service osobola okukola otya n'abebyobufuzi basobole okuganyuma. Omukisa guno oguzze jangu weegalere cyane. That was like, okay, let me sing it.
Yes, do that. That's great.
My fellow youth from Uganda, the chance is here for you. Are you from? My fellow youth from
You don't have to say where from. Leave the list out because it might get bigger.
Yeah.
So just keep it to fellow youth.
Yeah. My fellow youth from Uganda, the chance is here. Are you public service or are you passing from public service? The chance is here. How can you work with teachers and people in public service? How can you work with politicians? So they're here to teach you and give you advice and training. You will need exceptional facilitators across the world. And you need to be nurtured and trained to be that authentic, ethical, and transformative leader in your community. I'm a good product and I can witness the path you described me and my life has never been the same. The time is now for you to join Future Elect whenever they call, run and apply. Thank you.
That's amazing. Thank you for the testimony. You are great. You should be an actor. Thank you.
Ogenda beerawo ng'onkwata gwe.
Gonkwase oyagala
Nkwate gwe nsobodde essimu yabadde mulooka.
bring
Kamuseeyi.
jacket headman.
Rose, for this one, can you stand on this side? Stand on the TV and that's okay, so you're going to chat to me and then we'll chat to you. We're not going to ask you to do the Uganda content because you started protection for us. Unless you want to ask certain questions very similar to what you asked. Who you are, what you're doing, our problem.
It's coffee there.
It's called a Canadian word I was confused for a second. No, you're not. Just focus on light. Nothing's gonna get the right right. So tell me first of all, just give me your name, what country you're from, and what do you do? You've got a long list. So what? So what was the Future Link program? What do you see in that you could use? What have you felt over the past 7 months? There's something that you can pull out.